Welcome back, friends. Game number one is about to begin. FNATIC versus FAV Gaming to kick off our Playday. And let's start first with FAV Gaming, the team that has not been able to gather up points here in APAC North just yet. Maybe today will be their best opportunity. We're back on the analyst desk. I'm Melsh. This is Des Deskachu and Demo joining us today. Let's have a talk about FAV and what they can offer, because they've had some, flashes here and there.
Yeah, but flashes aren't going to win you games. That's the issue. You can
just don't watch that sandbox game.
If you play one good round out of 10, is that good enough?
Don't get me started.
Of course it's not. FAV, for me, are a side that just can't attack. They've played, what, 9 attacking rounds throughout the split so far? Won 2 of them. That's not a good percentage. I think they're struggling in terms of getting that first kill, that opening kill. Yura, who's supposed to be the main entry, went 0-4 in opening kills and deaths on the last Playday. So there seems to be a real issue with just this team starting off things right. And I think the best teams in the world, they don't rely around getting the opening pick. Even if things go wrong, they have that contingency plan. They have plan B, they have plan C. If things go wrong, they're ready for it.
Yeah. Well, we're keeping it with FAV in this case.
I was going to say, Kaga, not in this game. With FAV,
I got excited there for a minute. I was like, hang on,
that's not the team I'm talking about. He'll carry on. No, for FAV, one thing we've got to remember, as much as I said last week was one of the worst games we've seen this calendar year, they have also made a couple of roster changes, right? Give it a bit of time, and you'll see them start to get the blend together, I think.
Now we move on to their opponents, FNATIC, on the other side, because FNATIC has been a great surprise yesterday. Damwon Kia, yeah, I mean, first day, it's going to be a tough one, but beating Reject is a good start. Can they do it again and actually show us, like, hey, these changes are here to stay, Des?
Yeah, I mean, these guys are on the other side of the coin to what I just mentioned with FAV in terms of making roster changes are not looking good. FNATIC have made changes. Obviously, Mag's now in and playing as well. They've got Choppy in, a younger player from Japan, and they're looking fantastic. I know on day one they lost against Damwon Kia, but I went out in public and said, actually, I thought they played really well despite losing. If you look at the rounds themselves, they did get flanked hard by Damwon Kia, and that was the one thing they struggled to deal with. But the actual setups, the team play, the droning, everything looked really good for them, and then that actually materialized in a result in Playday 2. So things are looking much better for this team. Turns out they can attack now compared to where they could before. Sure, Mag isn't shining up there at the top of the leaderboard, but you've got to think about what else he's bringing to the team as team captain.
For me, FNATIC still hit or miss. I still don't think they've shown that consistency. I still don't think they've shown the consistency for us to start talking about.
Games.
Still
about
consistent
top
across
2
games.
A loss and a win.
They won the last 3 games of stage 1, and they lost to Damwon Kia, as said, but they played it exceptionally well. If you look at a storyline in isolation and say the team played bad because they lost.
At the end of the day.
Are you talking about stage 1?
No, stage 2. They won last 3 games.
Yeah, but stage 2, there's a completely different roster.
But man, still won 3 games.
Get him off.
On the train.
Honestly, at the end of the day, if you think about FNATIC and who they played last split, and who they were able to beat, they were not beating the big sides, the teams who we expect to qualify into the majors. That's going to be the turning point, is if we can see FNATIC go and beat out the likes of KAG. They've already slipped up. They didn't beat Damwon Kia, and we know Damwon Kia is going to be in that race. So that's where they're going to lose the points.
And just to kind of solidify it in everybody's heads, only the top 2 teams from APAC North qualify. It's no longer 4 teams and then go to playoffs and then you go to the major. That's all gone. So only top 2 from APAC North and South.
This is the big stipulation. They're playing much better, but right now they're the best of the rest. There are still probably 2 or 3 teams at the top here. KAG, arguably Sandbox, and Damwon Kia for sure, that are fighting for those top 3. You've got to get wins or at least points out of those top 3 teams, otherwise you will not be making the major.
All right, then our map for this series, which one will it be? We're going to be taken by FAV to a border. In this case, theme park eliminated, and defense start for FNATIC. They've opted for it. I see a bit of a chuckle here. What's going on?
Well, the fun one is, Demo will hate this, FNATIC actually beat Cyclops here in stage 2. They then did go on the next week and lose against Sandbox, so you win some, you lose some, quite literally in FNATIC's
Japan League
case.
experience.
Yeah, but they've played there, right? They've shown what they can do. Do I think with this roster it's going to be a different story? Absolutely. For FAV at this point, I think you can pick any of those 9 maps and there'll still be question marks around can they do it on the day, because so far they've shown that to be no.
Yeah, it feels as though Border's probably your best chance if you're FAV. The reason why I say that is Border for me is where the good teams go to die now. That's the map I think that fits. Used to be what Coastline back in the day, where just if someone turns up and has a frag fest, you're done. I feel as if Borders fit that description now.
Yeah.
So, we've seen good teams struggle in Border. Sure, still get a win, but it hasn't been like, when's the last time you've seen like a 7-0 in Border? Or a 7-1 or a 7-2?
Yeah.
It's always close because that's just the way the map plays now.
For both teams, it's okay. It's a top 4 prime map as well. They'll both be comfortable here. I still think FNATIC can take it.
All right, Demo. I was going to say Fresh. I'm so used to it.
You can call me Fresh if you want.
Would you really want that?
No. I was going to dye my hair pink for a joke, though.
I hope you want. Anyways, Demo, thank you very much. And thank you very much, Des. That's FNATIC versus FAV. We'll toss it to our casters. Happening. Take it. Take care. What's
Take care.
Take care.
What are you planning?
Good morning, everybody. We're out here in Paris very early. I'm more intrigued, though, by Daz wanting to dye his hair pink. Was it just
he
because
said he would do it for a laugh. I guess that's
just
why.
because replacing Fresh
why we
today,
did what, Fresh?
Oh, not because of that. Different reasons.
Just for a laugh.
Stay tuned. Who
Hey,
knows?
FAV versus FNATIC.
It is FAV first.
We had a thing, a catch there planned, and then Milos
He threw it off.
Threw it off.
He derailed us. Normally it's us that do it. This time it was Milos himself. The first game of the day. Back at home, you guys will believe that 65% chance for FNATIC, 35 for FAV. Now, FAV has had a very rocky game last week, we have to say. Might be an understatement. They need to improve here. There is a lot they need to work on compared to FNATIC, who start to grow and grow more into their roster and their potential. Most importantly, we have been waiting to see this lineup shine for like the past 2-3 years.
4 years.
4 years.
No, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Well, the thing is, it's not even just been this roster. Obviously, this
just the name. Yeah.
The sort of Japanese-speaking roster now of FNATIC is finding its feet. They've obviously finally got Mag in, who has always been that sort of thread between the previous iteration of FNATIC and the current iteration of FNATIC. Are they a difference maker? It's a conversation that we've had to have a long time, and a conversation that unfortunately got benched for a long time just on the nature of not being able to play with the team.
Yeah, visas apparently were quite hard to get during the pandemic.
I can't imagine it was
I can't imagine it was easy either. No, but he's here now, and that's all that matters. He's finally able to play in Japan with this new lineup. The changes have been made, and now they just need to start growing into it. Let's see if they will be successful. Now, the bans just came through. A finger ban is not something you see very often anymore, given the fact that there has been a change in the recoil systems. LMG's a little bit less viable now, but like we've seen at the European League, could still be played in hands of Finka.
Yeah, but it played and played well. Are two very different statements.
Yeah.
You know, it's an option, sure, but it doesn't mean it's as powerful as an option as it once upon a time was, when it was a defining option. It was the whole of the previous meta was sort of led and reared by that as an operator. But here, Border. Border is a map that is quick and aggressive. It can be very fighty.
I mean, especially this top floor, right? Like, if you get break room and CCTV under control as the attacker, you effectively have half of what you actually need to clear out, because you open up that long corridor, you can just stop any rotation from one side to the other, and you can either start focusing on archives or you can start focusing on the armory to see and try and get that plan down. And that is what makes it this scrappy fight map as well that Demo was talking about before. It's usually quite close, and it is due to the fact that it is quite an aggressive map where you need to take the initiative into your own hands. Now, long angles are being created here by the defense. They're looking to set themselves up in a way where they can challenge onto CCTV and break at any given time from any given place. And that is, of course, due to the fact that it is key if they do want to go for an armory push.
Well, the approach will come as a sort of bit of a swift hand. Usually, you find yourself getting set up on multiple different angles. Light here might be that one breakaway. The role of the Nook we've talked about quite a lot. Quite frequently banned. Quite frequently removed from the table before they're even allowed to get themselves dug in. Usually in the place of where that Finker ban is. Just for the role that they can play here. Get underneath, try and utilize what has become a very precious resource in frag grenades now that they've found themselves in a much stricter sort of setup. And see if they can get the drive through. Ramu, he's playing the big connection on the back end, east stairs. I was going to say has a couple of castles for support, now has one less.
Castles on the windows and the doorways are always an easy target for a Sledge, who can just step up, take them down, doesn't really have to worry about it too much. But it does mean some of the cover has fallen, and with these phone calls from the Logi Bomb going out, Chibisu will have to go for a bit of a rotate as well. Doesn't want to stick around too long before one of those 4 frag grenades might find his way to him. As they do take care of some of these drones, a minute 40 left on the clock. Slowly but steadily, FAV needs to start taking control of the building itself now.
This is how it sort of plays out, as I said before. Outside of this, the outlier underneath. Remember what I talked about Nook does? That's them almost doing it. Breaks the hatch, and Shin gets to pick up the hold from range there across the bow, takes the head off the player and forced FNATIC into suddenly a bit more of a problematic situation. But as I was saying before on the lead-in, this is sort of how Border plays. You get yourself set up, you force these angles, and you can do most of the fighting, or a lot of it, from outside the building itself. Think coastline, it's paper thin, and it leads to those dangerous sort of situations. Typon taps in. The second player to find himself in, and the first with a really prophesized push as Light holds underneath, hoping to catch a loose thread on the rotate, but they've already slipped their way away.
It doesn't seem like they are too bothered with CCTV currently on the FNATIC side, but as Typon will take care of Lily, they need to start replying. Ramo finds one, Chippy's on the flank, is going to be able to shut down the sledge. That certainly puts up a lot of pressure onto the CCTV side, but it's Yura that will lock him out.
DMR's in a battle there, and suddenly FNATIC has to try and hold on. They've got one player loose underneath. The bottom of the metal stairs. They took the fight on with the Nook, got the kill, but it does leave this. The pressure on the site itself. Mag has the cover, Mag has the backline, and Mag has two players either side of him. Swings into the first fight, can't win it out. FAV are able to take their opening attack on Border.
We're stuck in a sandwich here. As soon as we moved into that small cubby, instantly picked up by the Thatcher that managed to make it through towards the armory side without even noticing on the side of FNATIC. So that first round is FAV's. And I believe Demo talks about it before. They played 9 attacking rounds, only won 2. They just upped that massively, going from 3 in 10. And let's see if they can continue down that road here against FNATIC. It's a great start, and it all started off with that grenade from below, dislocating the player, forcing them into a angle that was being held by one of your fellow attackers. And after that, you just start opening up, and you start forcing more on those openings to rip apart the defense that FNATIC has set up. Worked out well that round. But if FNATIC get a bit more jumpy on the replies, see if they can aggress back at these attackers, it might be a completely different story.
Seeing the attack take an early lead on this isn't the most surprising thing.
It is not.
It's Border. You're going to have the attack have a good ride here. What we have to always keep into consideration is just the balance of the board right now. There is one team that has found more than 3 points. There is one team that is on less than 3 points. One of those teams in this game, FAV, they're the only people to not have anything on the board, but ahead of them is 6 teams, all with 1 win, 1 loss, all with 3 points, including FNATIC. So them pulling this game, it could be massive this early on to make sure they keep pace, or if it goes away from them, it could spell the end of their chance at a major this early.
Well, I mean, the sad truth of it is, right, if you have 2 losses, you are most likely already going to be out of contention, realistically speaking, especially if you look at how dominant some of the teams have been in APAC so far. A third is definitely going to be hindering your chances even more so, because there is only 7 play days in APAC and only 2 spots to be given out as well. It's not the top 4 that make it to playoffs. So, FAV, they really need this to stay alive, but at the same time, so does FNATIC, because they don't want to be saddled up with a second loss themselves either. As in the meantime, Light sneaking in, at least thought so, until a proximity alarm gave it away.
That's it. The play against Light potentially here. We saw them send a, as soon as the reveal of the grenade come down, a player of FNATIC's defense went on the hunt. Here they have the proxies to give themselves a bit of an early lead, and then they're waiting. Just tucked in the safety in the shelter of the shower to make sure if a spray comes through the soft, they're not going to get caught out. There's the drop on the procs, and there's the pullback on the player. FAV. They find the opener once again this time. The last stand is removed first. Mag is off the board, and without anybody inside the site itself, they've set themselves up for a very wide hold here. Across the top, breaks under a bit of pressure. You need to get a bit of vertical control here, especially if they are going for a hold as they've done.
We'd love to, but I just am worrying now. Does FAV even know that they killed the only member that was active on the side? Because it was a breach that came through. Shin instantly replied to it, managed to find the kill on Mag, who might have been a bit too aggressive down there. And so a lot of the utilities now being utilized up on that top 4 to see if they can get control of Break and CC. They might just lose more than they were attending here, because Type just like prone there. Wrong timing, just decides to pull off as soon as the drone got shot and loses his life as a result.
It's really that sort of split that would emphasize just how thin this map is. The spray is scrappy, but it's still FAVs and FAVs again. Literally all that's left. FAV taking very quick control here. They sort of spotted the soft points of this. They've been able to formulate pretty much individual 1 versus 1s. There hasn't really been an engagement that's happened with at least a third player involved from the side of FNATIC here. It's always generally been, here's a player, let's get the pick and pull them apart. Sure, some unlucky timings happen. Okay, not really sure what happened there. I don't think that was unluck. I think that was a mistake. They should still be able to lock out this round, even with an accidental bit of blue on blue. The spray is scrappy. They know exactly where Lily is, and they prove it.
Still wondering what happened there. Was that through the hatch, maybe? Seeing someone in passport control? Either way, round is locked out, most importantly for FAV. This was a very dominant one. As you mentioned it before, they're just able to force these 1v1 fights, force FNATIC to walk right into their crossfires or angles, and them not really being able to send anything back towards FAV is really hurting them right now. They're all spread out. They're all alone. They are on the site. Take a fight early on a breach, get taken out as a result. It's not looking too great for FNATIC, and if they do lose this next round to FAV as well, I would be surprised if no tactical timeout is being called, because so far, FAV, complete control.
Yeah, especially in that round. As I said, they seem to really have a beat on where the FNATIC players were going to be at. They made sure every engagement was a 1 versus sort of all of FAV, to be fair. It wasn't always a 1 versus 1. There were some, but it was always a setup. They always had a lead-in towards the fight, and it was a very quick response. FNATIC seem like there's no cool ground. There's nowhere confident for them to sort of set up. It is a part of border. It is an aspect of defending on this map, but still, FAV putting the pressure on that well this early means that FNATIC might find themselves in a little bit of trouble if it continues.
They definitely will find themselves in trouble if this scoreline continues to get away from them. Because FAV so far, they have been doing well. Quickly taking care of those default cams, making sure they don't have to worry about that. We've seen it in EU that it can come back to bite you in all kinds of maps. And top floor control, again, important. It is what they will be focusing at. And as these drones roll through, they're looking to find out how many players are active around the armory site. Slide is trying to get himself a point of ingress on the opposite side of the map, near the tellers. Now there is going to be a barricade, and there's going to be 2 reinforcements, which will basically allow him free entry. He can just jump in. The only thing he will have to be worried about is potentially that lobby being present. Tap on the Monty as well, waiting for that breach to open up before they are fully taking top floor control. C4s is what they need to be careful of, but there's only one on the board, Ramu. The only operator carrying them.
There's a bit of pressure coming from the smoke, forces a bit of a pause and a bit of a hold and support. The wide swing and the angle towards the Monty. Hope there would be a bit of a spray through on the soft. There's a lot of drones on a roll. Again, it's this game from FAV where they're really trying to isolate a player. They're giving all the support necessary to the drive, the push, and I'll type on. He's waiting for this, the pressure to break so he can have a little bit more control and to pull that control away. Chibisu's gone. Lily has a response. First real time. We've seen that here from FNATIC. A quick bite back against the lost body, the Monty. He had an idea, but he's going to pull himself back. Wait for a little bit more of a cover and shoulder of support here. For the first time, FAV are being a bit rebuffed.
We do see a bit of a rotation happening though from FAV because they realize there's going to be a lot of players up on that top floor. So you see the Monty out here in the actual site now. Issue is, it is quite open, and there's still smoke canisters being tossed at him, but with a minute left on the clock, that is all going to be just fine. You just want to waste that last pieces of utility before you have the opportunity to go for the plant as Yura misses an opportunity there to strike on Tiopi.
That really could have been either of them, to be fair. It's going to be a lead back in from Tiopi either side with the MX. It's a gun that can really cut shreds in the right person, but there's the support. Afro, like the saving grace, comes across the swing from the opposite side. And now they have that vertical control. Mag's doing his best, tucked into a corner, caught out on the drone, just going to smoke the cover, but it's from the hatch above. And that's why that verticality is so important, seeing if they can get the plant down, but covered out by their own smoke here. They've got to go for an aggressive retake round on the backside, but without the support from the hatch, it's very tricky. The Monty, well, he's put the shield back on a 4 versus 1 post-plant with the Montaigne on the board. It's not the easiest to take. The Monty's putting a bit of a chase in. Really, he could win this by himself if he plays it smart.
That's it. I mean, if it's a 1v1 post plant against the Montaigne, you do not have a C4, you do not have smokes, there is no way you could be winning that in any usual circumstance. And Zero will get that final kill. It is FAV that is currently leading 3-0. Well played by them. Went to the top floor, realized, it is quite sturdy up here, quite a lot of players. Why don't we just start putting down pressure onto the bottom floor itself, force them to spread themselves thin again, which will allow the top to continue on. And as we happen, there it is, a pause coming through. However, not sure if it was a tech or a technical. Tactical or technical, there we go. Just said technical twice.
Technical.
Yeah, technical and
Could be a technical. Could also be a technical.
Yeah, could be all of those, but
I believe it's a technical. I saw a tech.
Yeah, I did see that as well.
By Mag. So it's a FNATIC tech. They're 0-3 down. Anyway.
Yeah, so it's time for them to have a little bit of a discussion between themselves. And the difference between a tech pause and a tactical pause, for those of you that do not know, is that a tactical pause, you have one of them per game.
Yeah.
45 seconds max. That is when your coach gets to speak to you or any support staff on the license sheet.
Yeah.
Have a chat with you.
So
they might have some notes that you can work on. They might have some pointers or maybe just some motivational speech. It could be either way. Teams prefer one or the other. A technical is not going to be the case. So it's just you five, just the players can talk. The coach will still be muted. You wait until the technical issue is resolved, and as soon as it is, you instantly get back into the game. So even though it is not a tactical, Mag still has the opportunity to talk to the rest of his men here and try and get everything back on the road and see if there's anything obviously missing out of the current lineup that they can fix within just a round or two. Because you do not want to go down 6-0 on your defensive half. Yes, border and attack usually go hand in hand, but you do want to get 1 or 2 rounds out on the defense at least.
It was looking for a brief moment a little bit better from the second round to the third round when they were able to get a response, when they were putting a bit of fight in. But as you said, as soon as they got that vertical, as soon as they put some pressure down underneath and found that kill on the vertical, then how quickly they acted upon Mag in that power position. The drone rolled out from one player. They had the control of the hatch on another, and the Monty putting pressure on a third. 3 players were active in removing Mag from the board within about 10 seconds of 2 players being active, removing the top floor. And DOP, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was. But that's about it, right? Like, it looked really good until FAV realized, oh, there's a heavy presence up on the top floor. Let's send some people down. Let's send in the flank to get rid of TOP. And after that, it fell apart really quickly because then the control was there. FNATIC unable to go up and send any reply. The plant was going down because Mag, the closest one to the site, taken out. And if you do not have anybody in workshop, you do not have anybody up on the half wall, that Monty's just going to have a free plant. And especially with how the smoke canister was placed, even the Jaeger at the bottom of the metal stairs could not be moving through because, first of all, someone is covering that double door. Second of all, there's a smoke down there. So double death would be happening out there. And that is just some small things that they need to resolve quickly. Because as mentioned, 1 or 2 rounds is what FNATIC will be looking for. But if everything continues to go downhill as it does in these last couple of rounds, it is looking unlikely like they might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll hopefully be back in just a moment. We can hear the subtle sounds of people joining and leaving the lobby. So we can only hope. We'll be back in soon. It's an 0-3 on FNATIC's defensive lead. 2 of the rounds have had plants in, and one of them's been close to a flawless.
Yeah, it was a team kill that basically made it.
It was a team kill that made it not flawless. Otherwise, it would have been a flawless second round.
Yeah. And as we get back in, can FAV continue? There we go. It's just some anticipation.
Oh, that was nervous. That was nerve-wracking.
But I think FAV listened a bit to demo and they were like, yeah, 2 out of 9 is not really that good. So they're really stepping up in their attacking gameplay here on border. And of course, border leads into the attack. We cannot say it often enough. So it is good for FAV, but at the same time, you still need to be winning these rounds. And it's not like they're barely winning them. It is good team play. It is good calls being made and countering FNATIC almost perfectly.
The statement is always thrown out that it's a game of 2 halves.
It is.
There's not more maps that signify it better than border. in that we are going to see a very different setup in terms of the scores for any team that's attacking. You have so much else working for you, but you need to do the distance. That's what's required. If you do not find yourself with at minimum 4 rounds, in some cases 5, depending on how these teams set themselves up statistically, whether they lean more towards attacking and defending, you're really going to struggle. For my money, FAV is a team that, based on the woes that they've had, you kind of want them to have 5 if they want to have a good chance of locking this out. Just because that also shows that they've really grown. They've stepped into this.
Exactly. That shows the progress they have been making throughout the season. And well, I think you can already see in some of these approaches to come through, but you really want them to carry that across for the rest of the game as well. Anyway, type on in with that Twitch drone, seeing if they can get rid of some quick utility, maybe some ADSs. She misses the opportunity there, but I'm not quite sure if the drone... Yeah, drone did get taken out in that last shot there, so doesn't have to worry about it too much. However, window opened up behind him, break room opened up as well. He is quite vulnerable in that position.
We've seen the vulnerabilities punished as well. We've seen the pinches come through from FAV. We've seen them able to get these sharp strikes, and FNATIC have struggled to find that little bit of safety, that little box, just to tuck themselves in. They've gone for big open holds, but in a map like this, it really limits how many places you can set yourself up as well. It is the double-edged sword. If you can see them, they can usually find a way to see you. Here, Typon looks for the strike all the way deep down from break towards office side. They've got Euro stacked up on the far. They're hoping to force a player into a tricky situation, but this is exactly the take, and there's the first sufferer from it. Lily swings wide, isn't punished by the player behind him, who's now rotated to try and apply this pressure. There it is, close and it's scrappy, but it's Lily's again. A double kill that really should have gone round to Euro's favor. The third player stacks up, gets one. There is another player that's gotten themselves close around that little tucked-in wall, but they're actually going to pull themselves further away.
DMR, not the ideal weapon to go for a gunfight like that. That close range, around the corner as well. Frost really working wonders there. Good double opening for Lily. Fortunate to be punished right afterwards, but you know, you wasted some time. The diffuser has been dropped. It is quite close to the remaining players of FAV, but it's definitely a bit of a scare, and they need to go and make this attack happen with one less buddy on the board now, which means that FNATIC can just keep playing the trade game.
Coverage of the smoke. The Nooks rotated back underneath to try and push out the player that might be around this. The core of the metal stairs. There's the reveal of the barbs that will make a little sliver of noise, and the soft that they can try and spray through from fountains. They found themselves baiting. Just exactly that, hoping that somebody gives a bit of the game away. But look at the timer, 15 seconds. They can't bait for so long. Ramu locked in onto Fountain. There's the swing, and the pressure comes up round towards the rotate. Ramu wins out his first. The spray through gets the next to the top of the stair set. It's a 3 versus 1 Afro. All that's left for the pistol, and no kit and no time. FNATIC take their first round.
So after that technical pause, there's definitely been some improvements here for FNATIC. That double opening really being key. However, there was also a bit of lack of information from the side of FAV. A simple drone would have been able to spot out that wall was open, was being swung about every single 5 seconds. So a tiny mistake leading into a grave consequence at the end of that round. But a great round for FNATIC, as they managed to secure it, managed to put that on the board, and at least have that security net now for the site swap. Now look to buffer that one a little bit more, as they're aiming for a second, potentially even a third. And if this goes back to a 3-3, then FAV really dropped the ball here on the remainder of their attacks.
As I said, for a team from them and from how things have gone, you kind of want them to get 5. 4 is still doable and possible on your attacks. But the energy that they'd built up, being able to just keep that, lock that in for as long as possible before you hand FNATIC over, who are expecting to do better on the second half of that game. They always expected to be down on the lead-in.
Yeah.
It's that sort of tricky situation here for the side of FAV. They need to not just win, but they need to sort of take the game by the scruff of the neck and carry it to the end sort of win.
Yeah, they really need to show that same dominance that they had in round 2, and they need to show that throughout the remainder of this half, where they just decisively strike FNATIC and make sure that there is no questions possible whether or not this team has grown. Impact EMP tossed out. Now, not followed up by an exothermic, not quite sure as of why.
Yeah,
You only do have to.
What the sort of drive there was. Oh, there's a 3-1. Great positioning there from the Nook. Why you often see them removed. It's a great gun. It's the lead in. It's a lot of the entry sort of pocket player there. And now Chibisu might try and find the next fight. He drifts wide. He just gets the connection there at the end. Takes a bit of the damage. Just the benefit. But now with that open, a couple more options. A very important trade back.
The thing is, FAV, they knew exactly that there was going to be a player there. Chibisu was located there, but there was no further support, right? The windows were not opened up, and as Lily now finds light as well, it's FNATIC that again start to get back into that round, even though they had the early loss. Typon looking to sneak in with the Montaigne. There's going to be a Banshee that will slow him down, as well as some verticalities that could be used. As soon as that is the case, Chibisu will shortly get himself in position, I believe, to at least shut down that one doorway they could use.
It's it as well. As long as there's a Monty on the board and there's an Oryx, there's always the chance of those two meeting. So what we've seen before from the Monty is actually getting themselves quite deep, causing problems. They don't want to risk it this time. Typhon's going to pull themselves up, get the support structure. They've realized that FNATIC is definitely playing more of a connected game across the board. We compare it last time where, as I said, there was a lot of these isolated fights from all different sides. This time there always seems to be another FNATIC player. It's definitely a much more sort of hand-in-hand performance. It's really reinvigorating their holds against the approach. And there's Lily getting one more for the trouble. Afro knocked off the board. Shin and Typhon massively separated. Shin's with the rotate round on the back end. They're back towards the early breach that they had very early on in the game. They eyed up the option of that wall, and this time, oh, it's still locked, so they're going to have to go the long way around.
Also two separated, as you just mentioned. Trying to catch up to one another. 40 seconds is still plenty of time, and as Shin does find Lily, opens up a new avenue. Two players still up above. Also allows them to try and put up some of that horizontal pressure right now, but they need to be careful for the verticality that is still being created as we speak. But Chibisu just using that super shorty to get some extra verticality holes out there just to make sure that they have the best opportunity to win this round from up above. I'm not quite sure what Typhon is trying to do. He might just be face-checking everything, but with 10 seconds left on the clock, this verticality being out here, he really needs to dig himself in the perfect position to go for that plant, because he's about to be swung on.
I have no idea what Shin was going for there. That was real last gambit. They had the awareness of at least one of the players based on the spray through from the top. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, in my head, I was saying, okay, they realize that detention, all of that's still locked. They cannot get that. Maybe they'll just try and tuck behind the supply line.
Which is possible, but you need to have main stairs control.
Which is possible. You need to have main stairs, and they had a player at the bottom of main stairs, so I was thinking maybe they'll swing up main stairs or try and hold the angle from there. Maybe.
I don't know. But then
like, they just sprinted through the site.
They had the person up above, would be able to tell, okay, the plan's happening. So when you have someone still laterally to worry about, which was the case, there was someone still on the side, he's going to be making that push at the same time as the players are going to be swinging on the main stairs. So you can never cover everything at the same time. But just running through the site.
Running through the site is never going to go well.
I was going to say, that's not the solution either. So,
okay. I'm running the numbers, and I've come out in a different game. I think. Yeah,
no, I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, they tried to do something in the end there. They were never really going to get that plan down with the ID that they had, because that main stairs just looked directly down onto the Montaigne. Yes, you could have gone for a reverse plan, but still exposes part of your body.
This is when I would ask Fresh, but Fresh is home sick.
Yeah.
Fresh, if you're at home watching in bed, as you should be, what's going on?
Maybe Demo can fill in for him.
I don't know. It's not one of Demo's favorite teams. Oh no, he loves FNATIC though. He would just say, "Oh, it's just FNATIC playing better." No, he does do good analysis, but it's funny to razz Demo. He's talented at what he does, but he's also funny to irritate.
There's many different ways we can. But FNATIC, they really managed to get back into it after that tech pass. Second round in a row now. Might have not been the perfect start as they lost one, but finding Yura right after that, Chibisu, that was important, even though his position was known. But this comes back to FAV somehow falling back into their old habits of not playing in unification there, because there was no support. Yura was holding off Chibisu, just lost the gunfight. There was no one else trying to help him there, and that's how you just lose that man advantage suddenly.
FNATIC, if they can find themselves tied up on 3-3, it makes things so difficult in the second half of this game for the Guns of FAV. They've really got to find an energy on their defense and try and thread it. here. Quick breaches. Utilizing 2 of the Selmas to make sure they have themselves a clean route through. There's the pressure onto this, the swing on the pillar. Oh. And the player removed. The upside down rappel is taken out. That should get rid of any of the ADSs, which means a single grenade rolled close will get the shield as well. But also, at the same time, they've lost 1 more player. FNATIC, another removal there from the opposite side. 2 of these early engagements. It's down to Lily in a support structure to see if they can win out the next pressure engagement. That one was fake, but the next one is surely going to be real.
And it seems to be coming from 2 different sides. One waiting in the long hallway as Lily's eyeing up a hatch drop. But it feels like FAV, they've decided again that they do not need the rest of that top 4 under control. It's fine if they are out there. Typon just shuts down Ramu through the wall. And now with these footsteps, they know exactly where one of these players still is. But the drop already came through, and Lily in a scruffy gunfight will shut down Typon, but he might be about to be chased down.
Mag gets a shotgun kill at the same time. There's a second for Mag. Popped out the window. Cannot slip away Euro. With the drop onto the server stack. Gets a very important return. Keeps the body balance in their favor. 40 seconds. They're going for the plant itself. They've seen where one of the 2 players is. The other, Euro, they're happy to get this stuck, though. The engagement long enough for Lily to not be able to stop the plant itself. He has the fight, though. He has the player and the fire. Euro. They had the option to rotate. They've gone out laterally. They're not going to try and take this on a vertical angle. They're going to see if they can hope that they can force this gunfight to be as long as possible. A lot of corners to be tucked into, a lot of time to be wasted. The swing comes through, the positioning. The grenade! Oh, that was perfectly timed.
Whether he knew it or not, that was...
I mean, no, he did not know it.
No, he just tossed it in.
He said, I've got one of these.
It's just a waste time. Like, as you mentioned, that first gunfight that happened in the workshop, that's just a waste time. Buy as much time as you can to get the plan down and then bleed it down as much as you can afterwards as well. And then if you were a Zofia, for example, you're just shooting a stun grenade every now and then, just so they get off the plant or defuse if they're doing so. If you're Yana, you just toss in one of these grenades and see if you might be able to get a lucky pickup. I really like the planting position, by the way, because it basically forced them to not be able to go for a long arm because it was right next to the desk. So either you get on top of the desk or you need to be in front of that diffuser. There's no hiding there. So well set up for themselves to hold that in any post plant they found themselves in. And FAV, even though they just struggled in round 4 and 5, find themselves with a very, well, almost convincing win if it wasn't for Mag shooting down 2 players from that window with a shotgun, making it closer than it had to be. But the advantage is definitely theirs. And as they have struggled on the attack, they can maybe consider this as a minor victory, especially if they do manage to take points out of this game from FNATIC. Because we mentioned it before, there's only 7 play days, Emmy, in APAC North. If you lose your 3rd, you're basically out of contention already for that major. You're not going to be making it top 2, realistically speaking. The second one could already be very, very much slowing you down, but the 3rd one is definitely kicking you out of it. So FAV, they really need this win if they want to make it to a major this year.
Okay, FNATIC. I've talked about what this map can offer attackers, and now it's time to try and prove it as a roster that has had to prove it before. We all remember the very low statistics for their talents on attack in previous splits. Can they try and do the best with what they've got right now? The spray comes potentially through. I was going to say there, over on the side, but it's Chibisu that takes the first, scraps the damage right underneath, outside. That seems to be the case. Shin, what are you planning? Oh, not that. Went down before it came through. Chibisu with the attacking shotgun on Habana.
Yeah, we talked about this like a week ago or something. Like, when are we going to see the supernova?
Here and now.
Yeah, it worked out.
Supernova from Chibisu swings around. It came out perfectly there. The animation came through, so it was like a downed corpse throwing themselves at you.
Might be quite a scary
terrifying
sight. It's like, I just shot him with a pellet, but couldn't shoot back, of course. Deviant out, going through that window. Not be stuck in the middle of it. So, entry kill for FNATIC. After a, well, attempt from Shin, he might have been able to get away with it if it was any other gun but the supernova shooting at him.
Choppy made the approach onto the far side. Chibisu is taken out by Light, and Light gets one more. Mag's gone 2. Suddenly, we've had the body balance hand itself over. Choppy's trying to find the engagement on the swing round onto the triple wall. Light's there to try and have a response. It's a sort of tit-for-tat fight. Ramu on the long range. A lot less DMRs this time. The Sort of swing round of an SMG is much better, but Choppy seems to have the swing onto that. Euro removed from 90, wants to have another swing happen, but is waiting for Lily with the support from the opposite side if they can sort of take this onto a piece. There's the stun. It hits the player as soon as they top their head onto the corner. They're really trying to dig out a tricky engagement here.
Really want to be focusing onto the sandwich player as well, but he might have not seen the complete pass. Light is going to be sitting himself up in the corner here, knows exactly where it will be located. This summer will relocate him, but he gets the very first. Now looking to go aggressive on the second as well with the bailiff. No way he gets that! It's a quad kill! And for the ace, potentially 8 rounds. Will go for the reload, knows where this last player is. The swing comes through! He will find it! It's a light ace as he shuts them down, and it's FAV leading 5-2.
I mean, you talk about a power position player. A fantastic performance there. He knew exactly where he needed to be. He knew exactly where the danger was coming from. And he just sort of threw caution to the wind and himself at the players. FNATIC handed their lives and the marching orders one at a time, either side of a split. I mean, to not just take 1 2 versus 1 approach, which happened, unfortunately, we didn't get the full taste, but the time between killing Mag and Chibisu is a 2 versus 1, and then take the rest of the players in this. All 3 of them were trying to apply pressure onto a single point.
Yeah, but they're all doing it from basically the same angle. And I know, like, you have the left and the right side of things, but there was no pressure coming down from anywhere else. Like, they didn't have the hallway under control. They didn't even bother jumping through the window because they were afraid of potential players still being out there to support Light. So they all just try to put pressure down onto like that one hole in the wall and hope for the best of it. But it is going to be the defender that came out victorious there with that high fire rate gun on the MX4 Storm and a bailiff, which you barely see used to get a kill. But it was a last resort for Light because he knew, well, if I don't, I'm going to die trying to rotate out here or die whilst I'm reloading. So it was really the only thing he could have done there, and well, succeeded at it as well. But again, that is FNATIC just putting a lot of pressure onto a single point from one single point. You really want to be putting that pressure down from multiple different angles, so you do not allow these players to walk the way they did. He had 3 offers under control. There was no one to shut him down.
Oh, that was close. The Ash of Choppy's making no hesitation in getting themselves stuck into a position where there was a massacre on the previous round. But this time, different site, different hold, and different expectation of what else they're going to meet here on the other side. It's a little bit more pace, and I think they've read that. They're going to drop out, and Yura actually gets one of the lead-away kills there. Steps back into Fountain, but then thinks better of it, pulls themselves back towards the rest of the second floor behind the hard walls that they have, as Mag from the split has the pressure onto Fountain.
They have these hatches open. You already saw the first drop happening a second ago. Light dropping down into the bathroom. Now we have the opening made as well inside of the archive. So if there is a bit too much pressure coming down onto Yura, he can also drop. So they're looking to play this very dynamic onto the side of FAV. Just strike and maybe come back up, a different kind of stair set or case to really make sure that FNATIC has to work to clear out these areas, to clear out this top floor, because that's what they want. They want top floor so they can attack the workshop effectively.
Now, FAV, I sort of said I wanted to see what their curiosities on defense would be like, but it seems like they still want to kind of play attack. They keep leaning back in to the approach of FNATIC, and that's a scrappy fight before they take the drop down onto the hatch. They've swung themselves around. Are they eyeing up the stair set itself, or are they concerned of it being watched? It's fair enough, but look at the positionings that they've got themselves into. 2 minutes past. The verticality has fallen over, handed off towards FNATIC, who flood across the top. They're still fishing for the players underneath. C4. There's a throw of a C4, and there's a down. Not a full catch, but it was close to.
Mag now opening up the flooring as well, aware of the fact that someone is clearly down below, tossing up some of these explosives. But a lot of damage done onto Ramu, and that will force Mag to be the diffuser carrier, trying to get that, well, kit down on the ground with 45 seconds to count. But FNATIC, all they have is top floor control, Emmy. They didn't have anybody ready at that main door to shut them down as they rotated out, and it has given FAV complete control of this top floor site. Needing to be very careful, though, finding Chibisu just ahead. That should have been a kill for FNATIC, though.
Choppy's able to get themselves in on the door. They're trying to stick the kid on the far side. A double and a very important cover, but the hatch is the important part here. The rotates come round onto the top of post plant. They've retaken the verticality, and now there's only really Yura on that verticality left. There is a player coming up to see him. He gets a scrappy first fight. Does he know of the second that's about to hit him from beepers? Doesn't matter. He's taken the drop, and he's keeping his tail just ahead of the pace of the pursuers behind him. One's about to get the drop down from the hatch itself, holding one. The pre-fire just sort of gets them off the board. There's the concern of the reveal. The one outside the door, the one above. This really should be FNATIC's. It would be an amazing thing for them to drop this out of this at one time or have it clutched away from them with the verticality, the control, the bait on the audio. They don't need to swing this. Ramu's doing exactly what he needs to do. Yura takes a huge amount of damage just on the final end, but out of time. And FNATIC, they pull themselves their first attack.
Well done by FNATIC there in the end, because for a very long time FAV was in control. All FNATIC really had was that top floor under that pressure, and that's when they sent someone out to rotate, go towards that main door, shut down anybody that is looking to go aggressive onto that server stack. So I managed to get that plan down. So whilst there might have been a critique earlier on because they could have had 2 free kills due to the rotations that came through, instead they managed to get the diffuser down in the end and find themselves on 3-5. No match point yet for FAV. To work a little bit harder for that. I did believe I saw a clash just now enter the board. So we are headed towards bathroom and tellers. It's a setup you do not often see combined. Oryx, Clash, Gapkin, Castle, and Mute. Some more common than the others. But it's definitely something that keeps the attackers sharp because they cannot walk through any single door freely with those Capcan traps being out there, but also have to worry at the same time about that shield player, and at the same time Afro being able to jump up any hatch he pleases to make a flank happen. So there's a lot going on right now, a lot that FNATIC needs to keep track of.
Okay, FNATIC, you bit back there, but it was only really in the final 30 seconds, and a double kill from Choppy on the main door that led to that kit being able to be planted successfully. The cover came through, but it was narrow cover. Granted, it came on the back of getting that vertical control. You would not have been able to plant what you did without that.
Yeah.
It just also sort of leaves you with only really the option A, and having that happen as that drive-through, and we've seen the guns of FAV pop off. I mean, an ace the previous round is always that concern to be up against here.
If the retake was just a little bit quicker as well from that top floor, that plant would have been absolutely decimated. Having one on the server stack, one right below it planting, they literally had no one left that could really challenge them up there. They're looking to go quick here inside the CCTV. They know someone's out there. Do they find the kill? Yes, they do. Yura shut down quickly, and CC under control.
A worrying statistic, Yura has only died on rounds that they have lost at this point.
That is worrying.
So now the pressure onto FAV to see if the rest of them can step up. I mean, to be fair, he was 11-2-3. It is a huge removal from a player that has had a fantastic game, like just misses. The head and the cap of GBC, who is able to survive. They'll pull themselves further back. There is no route out, though. That hatch is locked. If they're going to be playing that, it is for life. So Light, if they want to rotate out, has to go via a place that might be under fire. You can see the pressure potentially coming through here from the Buck. They have some of the security from that safety. Light, where are you positioned? Shin, they're offering their own position and support, holding just the top of the star set, maybe to draw some attention.
And for sure, at least try and put up a little bit of pressure. That drone just has not spotted out the player. That's a free kill onto Chibisu as he drops down right into the gunfight of one of the members. It's Mag that shuts him down, unaware of where the C8 was firing from, but instant replies all around the board.
Oh, it was all back and forth until you find once again Choppy with a double kill on that front double door. Type 1 suddenly, in the blink of an eye, all that's left from 9 players to 4. They're going to see if they can try and at least dig on. There's 50 seconds. FNATIC, they've gone for a full rotate here around to the opposite side. They've realized just how much support there is. The vertical control is in their favor. Choppy realizes they don't have to cut this castle. They have the ping on where the player is. They might just see if they can get the hatch open and go from there. But actually, now that both Selmas have been thrown onto that single thing, there's only the one to do a little bit of damage onto the hatch. Not enough to break it open. The first engagement comes through. No, it will get it. Maybe that was 2 in pocket. I misread, but either way, Type 1, he's looking for the engagement. He doesn't find it now. Choppy with a triple. I believe that's 7 over 2 rounds for them.
Yeah, really doing well, Choppy. They're managing to keep FNATIC in it, because otherwise that trade game would have gone ahead of them. And as it just, again, swings in from that main door, finds those kills. I just wanted to quickly say there, though, unfortunate going for the drone in that situation. Wanted to shut down any form of information, but Choppy out there, able to reply. Bring FNATIC back to 4-5. And FAV, whilst they started strong, possibly unable to keep ahead of when things start to get hectic here on the defense. That is maybe cause for some change. Now, we are in round 10, by the way, and we haven't had a single tactical timeout yet. So both of these teams still do have it in pocket. FNATIC probably calling it once FAV reaches the 6 point, or if a very scrappy round is won by FNATIC at this moment in time. For FAV, I think they will call it if they lose this round, because then they still have everything to play for. They still have the 3 points, and they won't be on the back foot. It's all just speculation, but
It's all just guesswork. That's our job.
it is our job.
But again, you know, it's you know, you can only really harp on enough about how it's a good map for attackers. It
is
something where FAV come into this defense, and that's why I sort of highlighted they kind of need to do that step above average for my money to have the pressure onto this as a team with, unfortunately, all the pressure on them right now. The lead in FNATIC, based on the back of some massive work from Choppy over the past 2 rounds, has done huge works. There's the flashbang on the cover. They're able to slip away, though. Yura somehow sprints past the double door, and they don't quite have the reaction to get the kill. Really should have been theirs, especially with the second player putting pressure there from Vents, but either way, lucky to have their life.
Yeah, for sure, and FAV is going to be very happy with that one, because you want to keep Yura alive. You mentioned a statistic before, only died once the round is lost. Staying alive now is definitely potentially a game changer later on. And MK14 hits quite hard. If he manages to find these niche and tight angles, he might be able to chip them down just enough, or even take them out if the execute comes through. Drone not spotted out the player here. Afro gun unspotted as well, but he needs to be quite careful, because there is someone very close up on that balcony next to him. And if he goes for the swing, he needs to connect, but just misses out as Ash goes for a breaching charge.
That's it. There's pressure that's coming over from break room door as well. Choppy's leaning in. They're trying to do as much, but it's Mag that gets the lockdown onto one, and that's Choppy with the second. Suddenly, they have control underneath and putting the pressure across on the CC side, all within, once again, a blink of an eye. It seemed to happen a couple of times here to FAV. It is what this map can offer, but FNATIC are taking that offer and going 2 for 1. Light, he's looking in a position to potentially do a bit of damage here. He has played power positions super well before, as we've seen. But as the pressure's on, and as it's coming from multiple different angles here, it's down to FNATIC to see if they can set it. There's Choppy, still continuing a bit of a tirade here on these recent 3 rounds, stepping in 1 and 1 and 1. Lily gets 1, leaving just nobody. A flawless round and a 5-5 tied-up game.
And now FNATIC have closed that gap, still out on the attack, the favored side to play on here on Border. They have the opportunity to lock this off with a 7-5 if they manage to get the next 2 as well. And for now, no tactical to be called by FAV. Really leaving it up until the very last moment, thinking they can have something left to at least put themselves up onto 6 first. You want to make sure you take points away from this game, because Demo said it before, this is where teams come to die, and especially where teams lose out points to what would be considered some of the lower rated teams. And FAV, all not having any points, definitely in the bottom of that scoreboard currently. And they're very eager to get any of these points. And they've played quite well for the majority of their attack. They have shown some promise on their defense as well here. Cannot take it away that it was on the back of an ace that they won their only round so far, but the second round could have just as well been one if the rotation was a bit quicker. I just feel like there might be a lack of information on their side. You saw just now as well with the swing out from the Oryx, a bit misinformed, knowing someone's out there but not exactly where they are. Bulletproof camera, something like that, just set up, or a Maestro bubble would have been beneficial for them, so they could at least look over to that balcony and reply a bit quicker. Because there was a serial laser game that got burned. Explosive came in right after, as soon as the swing came through. So they need to be a bit quicker if they do have this information. Be a bit more aggressive.
Hitting themselves on the boards quite quick. FAV, they're looking to try and find a very quick response. I said it in the first round and the start of the second. They were being a bit aggressive on their defense, leaning into engagements. They've found that scarpered with the most recent, but understandably so, when FNATIC's really started to pinch and pull these players out of position. You want to do this, be a little bit more cautious, try and find some survival instincts on the back of that. As soon as they start to learn your game, change it up, mix it and reverse it. Quick pressure from a buck to a hard wall. No further will you pass. They have a backline here and some modicum of support, but with 2 hard destructors on the board, it's probably only a matter of time.
Yes, but there's also some impacts available there for the players playing around trophies. So if they are lucky, they might be able to just land it in the right spot. As they do open up onto break room just to cut down these 2 sites up above and half, which really makes it so the player inside of Armory is not going to be able to get any support from the player inside of Archives, which basically leaves Afro all up alone above.
We've seen Afro swung towards this position from the other side, and now he might be under pressure from the other, but look at this, FNATIC, they're really getting in quite tight, quite aggressive. Yura, it's not a rotate around swing, but look, 3 blue bodies either side and a drone out. He took the right time to take the time to get out of there. Light, he's eyeing up the chance of just applying a bit of pressure back on here to anyone that might drift across the board and get a little bit too happy with the idea of this floor being entirely cleared. They've thrown everybody down, but border can be decisively quick.
They can. There's only a single C4 available on Taipon, which they could use to eliminate some of that pressure up on the top floor. But if you look at how spread out they are, really trying to get into that main lobby, shut down whoever is coming from that angle, but that's not going to be the main priority. It looks like FNATIC is setting themselves up for a normal workshop plant.
Choppy holding off on the angle, had a massive impact over the previous few rounds, hasn't found a body yet towards this. There's a little bit of a tuck in just before the site itself. If they want to try and find some clarity here around the other side of seating at Shin, that might be an element of danger before they even get close towards swinging onto the beepers or onto detention on either side. Do they know that he's just tacked up above them? No, is the response. Lily, an easy removal, a quick flight back. You're looking at 10 seconds and a drop down towards the site itself. This defensive play and the change of pace here from the side of FAV has worked wonders. They've rotated back up towards the top. Rami's going to see if he can stick the plant, but at this point, as the pressure comes around from every which way, the last little modicum of FNATIC holds a bit of a ground, but a 1 versus 3, Rami's in the lion's den. And they were hungry. FAV, they find themselves on map point.
This time the rotation in time up above to strike together with the remaining FAV players who were looking to retake that workshop, make it their own. You mentioned it, map point, a single opportunity for them now to try and find a full 3. And surely this is when we get a tactical timeout from either of these teams. No? Okay. Just wanted to continue. That's all fine by me as well. I mean, FNATIC, they had the momentum for the majority of this half as well.
I mean, is it fine by you?
I'm just saying, I expected it to come.
No,
but,
well, we recorded a podcast yesterday, so it won't be out yet, but go and listen to it when it comes out.
I will.
We're talking to Onigiri. And one of the things that we did talk about was coaches and their role, because there was a round where obviously they've got Laxing as a coach, and he called a timeout at this exact sort of moment because he knew that they needed to get their head screwed on. And Onigiri, you know, and I'll paraphrase because you should all go listen to him. He gave some very wonderful, insightful answers about the state of the game from a professional player. Says that's kind of the role of coaches that you found nowadays. It's less about driving the tactics for some and more about this, the mental game, knowing when to be able to take the step away. And he sort of highlighted as something that as a pro player you don't really think about because you want to just keep going sometimes. You want to just keep hitting the boards. But a steady hand on the shoulder to sort of get your head screwed back on is worth its weight in all the precious materials in the world. Not just gold.
I was just going to say, looking for gold, or you
not just gold,
but not just gold. No, but you know, this is why I expected FNATIC to maybe call it now. But at the same time, they are the leading charge for the majority of this half. They just had one of these slip-ups. Do you really want to give FAV an opportunity to discuss? Because they have been on the back foot throughout the last 5 rounds, even though they are a match point right now. So maybe it is better to just keep going. I don't know. But you had them available. And Choppy, who has been on a very strong second half, needing to strike big here. He's very well aware of the fact that there might be Capcan traps around. He's checking every single door, doesn't want to pass through before he knows it's clear, because that would be detrimental if someone blows up that like that now.
They flood themselves to a bit of control here over the side. A CC up to the top. And the rafters above, sitting and the waiting below. But with eyes towards Office, where a lot of pressure came through on before, they're going to make sure that the push is a little bit strict here. However, the change of pace is FAV's. As I said before, it seemed like on the previous round they're playing themselves a little bit safer, a little bit more out of the immediate reach of the FNATIC players. They're going to try and waste and bait intel and information as they did before. But then the re-emergence, instead of playing for holds and takes, go for a little bit more on the angle of retakes as Choppy finds his way across the top of the boards, and still drones continuing further, a minute 30. And FNATIC haven't been able to find an opening body, which before, in the rounds that they took, seemed a lot more easy.
Now the hatches are closed and electrified as well, which will make it a lot more difficult to get rid of it. Yes, you do have impact EMPs, but everybody needs to be in the right position at that moment to open up that one hatch into that bathroom. That's a crucial hatch, because that stops Shin from playing as freely as he could inside the site directly itself. And he just still started C4, was unable to find any connection, but they instead just want to go for a straight B side take. The Ossa Talent Shield will be coming into play right here to see if they can get a plan down.
Very good use of the new pocket EMPs as well. They hit both on the targets. They realized that it could be either at the top or the bottom. But the problem is there, the breach itself isn't made full fat. The claw is at the top of it. They cannot quite get the angle.
It's a jump.
First little strict sort of play on it, was it? And as you said, yeah, at that point, they're going to have to try and drive themselves through. They don't have a grenade to roll through the gap and get it popped in another manner here. The take across the top, they pull themselves back ground. Realize the flash and the stun light isn't going to overstay their welcome here. They get themselves close towards the drop, the fight around waiting room, and the rotate as Mag sees if he can stick the kit. In the meantime, a full 10 people on the board engagement, and there it is, trying to find their way through. They had no idea that he'd just gone for the hop and gone for the plant itself. Mag, he's now tucked in. He has himself in a little pocket of safety. They have all the angles they need just to get this cover down, and suddenly this arms-off game from FAV is entirely coming back to bite them. A 3 versus 3 versus 2. A bit of a scrappy lead back in. They've got some wrested control of the site itself, but that is a hold from Ramu that is very tricky to break. Behind that, the see-through glass. Afri with the run out doesn't get him too far. We're going to OT.
We are going to overtime indeed, and a slight mistake there from FAV. They hadn't created any holes into the side itself. You saw Capcan walking up after that, firing his 9x19 VSN through that wall, hoping to create a big enough gap to get the C4 through to stop that diffuser in time. Not the case. No holes, no lines of sight. They just managed to get in, and suddenly you are stuck. You're very stuck. You do not have that top floor control anymore. They have the east stairs. They have that, well, hole that isn't really the breach hole they were hoping for, but at least it's visual.
And they utilized it very well. They're running the positioning. They made the best of a bad batch.
Yes.
And, you know, you can ask for more. It's one of the things that, to be honest, we talked about a lot, wanting Mag into this lineup and the roster. When we saw FNATIC struggling on their attacks, Mag was always a playmaker. He wasn't always top of the board in frags. He wasn't always sort of playing around the kit itself, but he was there to sort of give them options and ideas. He was a good ideas guy. You needed an ideas guy in the room.
And you need someone that just makes the call as well, even though if it might be a bit risky, like jumping through that window, but due to the fact there was no lines of sight out there, you can just jump in. Yeah. Like, they probably wanted to open it up, get the talent shield, do a little sidestep, place it down, plan right behind it, and they wouldn't be able to do anything about it. But because they left it soft, they make the call to just jump in instead because there's nothing there to challenge them. And those kind of plays, those kind of calls, they need to be made. And that's what they lacked before, as you just mentioned, indeed.
OT. Two sides, 4-2. Either side almost was locked out here. And for the first time in this split in APAC North, we're going to have somebody not get the full 3 points or lose the full 3. It's not good news, really, for either of these teams. Let's be honest, when we talk about how close the wire is, the C4 out the window won't quite get the full catch. Shin takes a lot of damage. But it's actually Yura that has the cover and support. Somehow, Chibisu isn't quite able to get the survive. They lose a very early big lead in there. They also lose their Ossa.
Yeah, and that's two of those talent shields. They are see-through, of course, but they give you so much information as the attacker playing right behind it. You can decide when you take the swing onto the player looking at you. You lose those. That's going to be stopping many planting opportunities if you do not have full control of the site itself yet. So they need to be a bit more decisive now on the side of FNATIC if they want to lock it off this round.
Well, they just popped to get rid of that C4 in the window, so it's an option later on, and they hope that it's out of the stretch. Shinny's on the far side of Narnia right now from where he was before. He's making sure that, well, hoping he goes a bit unchecked. He doesn't have a huge amount of health, so surprise and stealth is going to be his biggest asset at this moment in time. FNATIC, a body down. As I talked about, usually on their attacks, they were quite good and quite kind of aggressive in getting that first body. They tried to be that here, but it's gone away from them. Euro with the heavy-hitting DMR is making a bit of a statement at the top of the core, the metal stairs. Do they know this player is here? Will he go unchecked? He wasn't caught out on that drone. There was a hit on a window as they ambled their way past. Oh, Shin, are you going to be the worst surprise FNATIC have suffered today?
They definitely don't know as Mac takes some damage from up above in CCTV down into detention. So he definitely has the opportunity to rotate back up, but no C4. So really the only thing he can rely on is hoping that someone walks by his light quite close as well. C4 pops out. That's a guarantee. No guaranteed kill. I was going to say that's just going to be free kill onto Lily out there.
That's reaction speeds of Lily.
That is really quick.
The drone went through at the same second. He read what those blurred objects were, and he made sure the line wasn't as blurred. Tucked tail. Pulled himself back in. The pressure comes here towards light. They obviously don't have the immediate use of being able to pop themselves down and out of that hatch itself in terms of their own pockets, but they're going to see if they can hold on to the position for as long as possible. Shin, in the meantime, he's able to finally strike, finds Mag on the far side. Not sure if it was a long wait and kill, but there it is. It's suddenly just Ramu left with the kit, 20 seconds. Gets a triple for the round. He's really been doing the business, but unfortunately for him, the rest of the team could not. There's a width, there's an engagement, there's a drive towards a site that's otherwise not had a huge amount of pressure onto it. Has to just blindside all the way through and somehow makes it on an entirely uncovered run here. And, well, they have no clue, so he's going to stick it. There's a fight that's about to happen. They're looking for the engagement. He gets a quick he gets an ace! Ramu should not have been allowed to do that!
They didn't check the corner. They were too far away. And that was a FAV round. They just thrown away. Ramu perfectly played out. He just went for it. He just sidelined. He didn't care if someone was right behind that mirror window. He needed to get that plan down. That was the only way he would potentially win that round. And he did with an ace.
And the plant.
And the plant. And a clutch.
The 6-person ace.
That's the second ace we had this game. And now FNATIC on match point, which should have been FAVs going into the attack, into the favorite site themselves. They were looking properly set up to potentially even win it here. But FNATIC really dealing a very big blow to them with that ace. A 1v3 in the end, a couple of seconds left. They knew exactly where he was, but did not know where he was going. That was a difference maker there. Well done by Ramu. And now, FAV, how do you come back from that?
Another ace.
Another ace.
Third ace of the game.
Go ahead.
I mean,
who's going to make it?
That should not have happened, but it did, and that's what we've got to now work with. FNATIC, they pull out. Well, I say they.
Okay, that's not a great start.
No. Yura, twice in a row, they've been able to get a very early body, this time both with the DMR. One on the attack, one on the defense. This time, instead of Chibisu being on the wrong end for it,
it's a very long angle.
Yeah, wow.
That is all the way from the back of the spawn to half wall. And that's why you pre-fired at. Like, they probably try this every single scrim. Like, they've done it 1,000 times, and one out of 1,000 times they get that kill.
Oh, yeah.
It just happens to be in an official game where they are a match point behind now. Chopi looking very aggressive towards Shin. If Shin does decide to go past that window, might lose his life. Chibisu as well. FNATIC ready to take these fights aggressively now.
Yeah, holding hope and holding on. This as the calls start to come through. They'll generally know that a player's in this position. He's giving himself as much stretch, and he has an option to drop out as well. But look, you've got one on the upside down rappel. They're checking behind the monitors itself. This next one's going to bounce towards his angle. He's got to be in a position to react to it, but it will be that final call that we roughly know where you are. Holding onto the break room door, you've got Choppy offering the support as well from the far side of Fountain or Office, I believe. They've got that attention to detail. They're giving themselves just that extra width, and oh, there's a hell of a take. Chibisu takes the head off of Shin. The kit goes cold.
More importantly, relieves a lot of pressure because now doesn't have to worry about the break room for just a couple of seconds before that kit is going to be recovered. But it's also one body less on the board that will be challenged, and as Taipon retakes that spot, it is Yura that will find Choppy before Chibisu responds and finds him back. So FNATIC continuing this trade game now.
Chibisu doing all of the important work here inside CCTV. One onto break, and then the swing through there. Finally put out of the misery of FAV. They're able to get themselves a kill without it having a response. Taipon creeping his way through onto CCTV via break. They have some of the control of 90 itself, but Lily might be that difference maker. If he's gone unchecked, well, he's able to check them out. The kick goes cold once again. The breach from behind him. He suddenly got the awareness that it's this 2 versus 2. Does he know where the player is? How long ago was that planted? He swings around into long corridor, and he's able to take the head off of Afro. Light is all that's left here of the hope of FAV pulling 2 points of this engagement. They've pulled themselves and tucked on the opposite side of the hard wall. He's going to swing that side first. There's a pre-fire that comes through. He hits one, gets the down, looks for the second, can't quite get it. It's a pocket full of seconds. He's going to sprint to the side, seeing he pull off the same magic as before. He's doing it dangerously close to the door. There's a spray through, and FNATIC take the 2 points.
These last 2 rounds from FAV, very scrappy. Should have been theirs, both of them. But FNATIC able to fight back. The resilience on this team is what allowed them to push all the way through. And whilst it might only be 2 points rather than the full 3 they would have hoped for, it is still a victory. It is still improvement compared to their last stages. So they can be very happy with that. They made some really cool calls, I have to say. Some nice decisions which led them to winning rounds that shouldn't have been theirs. And as well, that ace is something to definitely discuss about.
I mean, I saw the desk walk in, nattering and shaking their heads, so we'll throw it over to them to see their opinions after this break.